out with the tech stuff.
Yeah.
So that it's an easy setup when I like travel.
Yeah.
Because I was super disappointed going through, what was it, episode 47 or something, 45 with Bud and Bonji.
Yeah.
Going through
7.
that and like dealing with the audio issues.
Yeah.
That stand's gonna feel loose.
Oh no, we're good. I was just moving
bottom,
it.
But
yeah.
I was up because we had such a good time doing it, and I just feel bad putting out shit quality stuff.
It wasn't that bad. You can't tell.
I could tell.
You can't, but
yeah,
I'm saying
but I'm also like
the average guy like me, yeah.
The average jabroni.
Yeah, the average jabroni can't tell.
Yeah, so I feel like there's going to be some audio issues with this one too, just based on how like I'm looking at some of the readouts here, and
that's fair.
I mean, we're kind of close quarters, so it's not going to be so bad. But again, for the baker's dozen people that listen and watch, I like to give the people what they want. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah, give it to them.
All right, jabronis, we're back, and we got a very special surprise guest. One of my arch nemesis himself, probably like top 2, top 1, besides the dangerous Davis, Oswald Cobblepot himself.
Wow.
We have Matt the Weasel Steele. Now, before I let you speak and introduce yourself, everybody should know I shit talk the Weasel on a regular basis on this show, outside my show, to his face, behind his back. It's a constant just deluge of shit talking, but it's all in love, and I wouldn't be wasting my time and effort in coming up with these good jabs at all, or any sort of things that I do against you if I didn't love you. So
sure.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Actually,
it's
really,
my house.
Thanks for having me here. We're at the Weasel's compound here in Delaware, and I was super excited.
Home of the President of the United States.
Yeah, the big guy. So that's pretty cool. But thanks for letting me, invite myself over here and set up shop so we can do this and have a good time together. It's been too long since we hung out. So
absolutely.
Thanks for having me. On my own show.
On your own show.
In your compound.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll get into like what I really want to do is kind of talk about how we met, how that whole shit show Circus Act started, and then again, when I say this every time I have a guest on, it's like up to whatever the conversation we have, it kind of just naturally progress or digress or whatever. It's going to devolve pretty quickly.
I think so, but don't worry, we're coming after you.
Yeah, so it's a no holds bar. Terrence, you might want to put your kid away. It's not going to be a family show at all. So, but real quick, before we'll just jump into we'll step into the cage, knock that out, and then we can get right to the junction and just talk shit. Is that cool with you?
I'm in.
All right, let's step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
I forgot my trusty notebook.
Your crib notes, yeah.
So, today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by testicular cancer. Do you ever find yourself on the couch in the living room late at night when the wife is in bed and you're just about to put on the Spice Channel and fire off a quick J.O., then you look down and realize that one of your nuts is the size of a golf ball?
Lemon.
That's testicular cancer. And you need to make sure that you check regularly for that before you end up in the hospital with a half-empty sack and a loss of pride to boot. Remember, men, it's testicular cancer. It's not just her job to check. There's no discounts on testicular cancer today, folks.
Amen.
So,
well done.
It's just more of an awareness sponsor. Not getting any money for that. I'm not on the take from Ball Cancers R Us. So, check your nutsacks, fellas.
It's not her job to check.
Especially if you're a lonely psychopath like myself who has no one to check for you.
When you're ripping JOs by yourself, you gotta give yourself a touch back.
Yeah. Look down. So
take a deep grab. Right. See what you get.
That's it. A deep grab, a deep look.
Take my crib notes. I want to make sure I get Bud.
Yeah. So again, we talked about this before we started, but I always like to offer the opportunity for the guest to provide the cage fact for the day. So again, it's a no pressure situation. You didn't have to, but I know you found a fact.
Absolutely. So the cage fact for today Number 5 on the list of all-time greatest cage facts is like father, like son. Continue the tradition of the superhero names. Cage named his second child Kal-El, which, of course, in case you're wondering, is Superman's birth name. Now, we all know that my last name is Steele, and I am the Man of Steel.
You're something of Steele.
I am. So, as a respect to Kal-El, his son and the Man of Steel, that is your cage fact of the day.
There you go. And it actually kind of connects to some previous cage facts, because there's a plethora of facts.
How they never end.
Right. And these kind of fit a like a theme, because he's big on comic books. We talked about how he had a huge comic book collection, and one of them was stolen. It was like worth several $1 million, and all of his love for superheroes and all that other good stuff. So it just makes sense. And I don't even know. We might have talked about like informally that his son was named after a superhero previously, but like his son's official name is Kal-El.
And I'm here to bring it all together. That's what I do.
Yeah, and I'll have to actually do some digging. Maybe it'll be like a future fact. I don't know if Kal-El is the son that he like wrote. Him and Nick, him and his father, like wrote their own comic book together. I forgot. I got to do some more recon on that, but he just made his kids obsess over comic books just like him, because that's what you do as a father.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Instill your will.
And when you're the NC, you do what you want.
Yeah, and there really should be no questions asked. If I was his kid, I would be into comic books and other dinosaur skulls and what have you. So, all right, that's the cage fact. Now we'll just throw a little junction logo up here and get into it. So everybody knows you based on my little jabs and hiding behind the camera here in the safety of usually my own studio or whatever.
It's all fair though. It's all honest.
Yeah. So Matt Steele, we met back in college. So you're a baseball player in college. You're currently in the military.
Yep.
We can talk about that later and your current efforts and whatever you feel like talking about. But I want to go into, I guess, your story of how you got to Embry-Riddle, and then we could talk about how I made my way into your life, essentially.
Sure. Our lives.
Sure.
And all the fans. So that story starts actually with the idiot over here on the couch who's too shy to show his face.
Yeah, so we got another buddy here, another part of the brotherhood, if you will. He's off camera. He's a mystery. All right, so we got some technical difficulties. We'll talk about that in a sec. And I'm a little heated because we lost some good content. But
great content.
Basically, where we left off was you started at Portland. You emailed your roommate, who was going to be your roommate, who ended up being Scotty, who's actually here today. He's just off camera.
Yep.
Somewhere around here.
Yeah.
And you were talking about being at Portland and then kind of how you ended up at Riddle.
Yeah, so I did the Portland thing. Did that for a year. Like I said, I was a basketball player in high school, so my roommate thought I was like a Bonji, like just a 6'5" black dude that made it rain. And then a 5'0" white guy shows up, so he was shocked. Hard to explain that one. He was shocked, and he's a redhead, so it's kind of a weird mix.
Yeah, I don't know why he was like.
Yeah,
I don't know why he was disappointed.
Yeah, he was like disappointed that he didn't have like someone in his corner, and instead he got me. And he goes, "Well, I guess my life is fucked." So, we did that for a year, and I left, and I went to a small D3 school in Virginia. Girlfriend was hooking up with a guy on the team.
Oh, that's right.
I wasn't a huge fan of that, believe it or not. Good for them. And then I felt betrayed, whatever.
I don't know why.
Right, because, my teammates all
you're
knew.
A bitch boy.
Yeah, my girlfriend was banging and doing the team. So I left. Wanted to go to Embry-Riddle. Didn't think I was good enough to play. But my dad was an alma mater there. And I was like.
Wild Bill.
Wild Bill. So Wild Bill graduated in it was just prior to World War I think. So
during the Ottoman Empire days?
Yeah, it was just when the Persians started taking over.
Yeah. That's when Wild Bill's like, I want to fly.
And then they wouldn't let him. So
sounds like me.
So he graduated Embry-Riddle, and he always wanted me to go there, and I didn't think I had the grades. Anyway, so I got in. He called the baseball team, And so they talked about the system they had, and they teach the toughness training manual. Great read on eBay. It's like
toughness?
The new toughness training. It's like $7.99 on eBay, and
well worth it.
it's something. So we liked the system they had in place. It gave an opportunity for someone like me, who is not the most gifted athlete. I only tend to like my best skill sets were soft throwing left-handed pitchers. I lit up. So like there were guys in college I got there. Chris Maloney was one that like I owned, like just dominated. So, but I was not great against a lot of other guys. So I had to kind of work really hard in order for that to work out.
Right.
And so anyway, they gave me an opportunity to play.
So that was one thing I liked about them, at least from the outside looking in,
100%.
is that one of the big things that I always got from other like coaches and friends when I was in high school was like, hey, you're just not big enough. You're not the size or the skills to go make it at any, outside of high school. So when I see something like that, that's when I was like, obviously they're finding value in somebody for some reason other than just height and strength or
what are the big five, right? They
whatever the standard,
they looked at
right.
Yeah.
Because for guys like me, the big five was, I wasn't high up on the
I didn't have any of those.
set. Yeah.
No, but they looked at people honestly and were like, hey, can you contribute? And yes, they were tough, and they weren't great about walk-ons.
No.
They were not. So I was a preferred walk-on, meaning they trusted my D1 background enough to let me essentially play in the fall and see what happens. But yeah they weren't great about walk-ons, unfortunately. And I think, personally, walk-ons I think are the best because they're not playing for money. So I played that year. I was a shortstop.
You didn't get any scholarship, did you? Maybe a couple bucks?
We can talk about that later.
Right.
I'm still waiting for Randy to show me what that paperwork looks like.
From him.
Yeah, he promised me scholarship paper. Couldn't even tell you what it looks like.
I'll tell you about mine in a second, too.
So I was playing shortstop. I had a cannon for an arm. And I ended up... So in pregame, I break my foot.
Yeah, it was like a stress
I was
fracture.
batting. I break my foot, but I don't know, right? I'm running to first. I'm like, I can't.
Something hurts,
but hey,
yeah.
coach, I think I broke my foot. I can't run. He goes, you're fine. Suck it up. I go, I guess I'll suck it up. So in the second inning, because of the way things worked, like they had this weird rotation. I would go into the shortstop in the second inning, whatever. I go into shortstop. Of course, first ball is a missile at me. It bounces off my chest, hits me in the chin. I chip a tooth. I pick it up, send a missile to first. He's out by 10 steps. As I throw the ball, my foot just collapses and I fall over.
And you just topple.
People are literally dragging me off the field, and he goes, get out of here. Go get checked out.
Just pissed off that...
Finally.
Not like, man, are you all right? It's like...
He was upset I drug my cleats across the first baseline.
Yeah.
And I messed it up, right?
And then now the rest of his schedule roster moves are all out of whack.
They're out of whack, right?
Yeah.
So I go in, and they're like, well, you gotta get a scan, all these things. So I broke it in 12 places, whatever. I'm out for 13 weeks.
It was the
somewhere
foot
in
or the leg?
It was my foot.
Okay.
But it was a part of my foot that doesn't get a lot of blood flow. So
Yeah.
whatever, it doesn't matter. But 13 weeks in a boot. Essentially done for the year.
Yep.
I had played in 12 games. 10 was the maximum for a red shirt. So I was past the point of eligibility for a red shirt. So I was like, well...
Just lost a year.
Yeah, well, I rehabbed. I came back in the playoffs, but we ran into St. Thomas, who they were simply in fuego.
That's right. That was their theme, I guess.
Manny Ramirez was their number 2, 3, 4, and 8 hitters. And went deep about 10 times off, I think, Chris Maloney. And so we ended up getting beat it was 20-1 in regionals and don't go to the World Series. So year ends, they leave. Coaches leave. So Steele's take over.
Picked up.
Yeah.
But that whole year, that's kind of where you establish, you had your friend come, Danny, he's part of the Brotherhood, obviously. He came, you guys knew each other in high school and childhood. He came to Embry-Riddle. So that entire year you had Danny. I think you said Scotty eventually, found a way. I think your dad, Wild Bill, weasel his way, like to get Scotty.
Wild Bill told the admissions people Scotty would do just fine if they'd let him in, because Scotty had failed out of Portland, and we both went to Portland together. He had failed out his sophomore year when I was at Bridgewater.
Yeah.
I went to Embry-Riddle, and then Scotty's like failing out of Portland. I was like, dude, come to Embry-Riddle, they'll take anybody. Turns out they won't take anybody. My dad is like, hey, I'm an alumni. Take my word for it.
Oh, a big timer.
Yeah, I'm like, I work for like important shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's gonna do great. And so they let Scotty in.
Look, I mean, Wild Bill.
I mean, he's the real deal. So they let Scotty in, and to Scotty's credit, he graduated with honors. He ended up crushing it. It was just funny that my dad had to like argue to get him in,
which is crazy because
crazy
from high school to try to get into that school was not difficult.
A joke
at the time. A good SAT score to get into that school was like 1100.
Wasn't high
out of 1600 at the time. It was So that was really funny to me because at the same time I'm already in the school. I'm failing out. I got a 1.8 GPA. I lose my ROTC scholarship. So I got to figure out a way to pay for more school.
Lost your scholarship. That's right.
I didn't even see a cent of it. I lost it before I started because it was started at my second year.
You had the 3 year.
It. Yeah. It's funny hearing that he couldn't get in. I'm in, but doing worse than he was. Essentially.
But it worked out because he gets in. He crushes the program. Danny crushes the program.
Yeah. And you build a relationship with Matty T, who's also a player.
Yeah.
Matt Talamansky.
So we're in our first year there. We're staying in Missy Springs. That's where Matty T comes around.
Special first apartment complex.
It is like where the shithole is of shitholes.
Yeah, it's behind the shitty Publix and behind the Blockbuster, which was popping back then.
Blockbuster's like Blockbuster had been canceled, but Daytona didn't even know that yet.
No.
Yeah.
And they were just
trash.
Raging in there.
Trash. So we're in Missy Springs. That's where Matty T starts showing up. He's like, hey, Matty, you live with your parents. Maybe you're bored this weekend. Because me and Danny and Scotty had no friends.
It was just a 3, yeah.
No one on the baseball team liked me because I'm a walk-on, right? I'm nobody.
Right.
I suck.
And now you're also injured, so you're not playing or doing anything.
No, so nobody hangs out with me. So I start telling this other guy who looks like he doesn't fit. I was like, hey, you should come hang out with us. And so he starts showing up. He's got a brick of beer on his shoulder. And he just never leaves on the weekends. And that's like every weekend, and we're like, I don't know who this guy is. Matty T. Hey, Matty T.
Bro, it's on the team, I guess.
Yeah. Next thing you know, Matty T is a vital piece of the equation going forward.
Yeah, he's a mainstay.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, he's one of the pillars.
Yeah, he's one of the pillars.
Yeah. So meanwhile, this is all happening with your circle and world.
Yep.
My world is I'm going to games as a fan when I don't have class or anything.
Yep.
I see, Matty T's redshirted, so I see him, but I don't know who he is because he's not playing really. I see you out there when you were playing, and then I also see you involved in the game, like mentally, emotionally, with the boot on when you're on the side.
Yeah.
So you're still in it.
I'm in the fight.
Right. And I see you. You're shorter than me.
Not even close. Significantly shorter.
Pretty significantly shorter, yeah. And I'm a short guy, too.
Yeah.
So I see that, I'm like, man, this guy got a chance to play. Like, if he can do it, if he got in, and
if I can do it, literally anybody can.
Then there's an avenue of approach for me. So after the Williams leave, after that year ends,
because they had already cut you twice, right?
They cut me once, and then I begged to get a tryout. I also broke my foot that same year, a stress fracture on my foot.
Yeah.
In a boot and crutches for a while, and I begged them. I was like, hey, I'll be back like a week after your walk-on tryouts. Let me get one. And they're like, get out.
Yeah.
No chance.
We need someone to shag balls.
We don't even need you to shag balls. Like, nothing. So I'm going in my 3rd year now. Coaches recently, like new coaches are in the Steagles, and I talked about already how
Steagles Eagles.
Yeah, how they changed my trajectory of my life because without them giving me the opportunity to try out for the whole fall semester of the 07-08 school year, I'm probably dropping out of school Well, I mean, I never told my
Life changer.
parents that.
Life changer, though.
It was, yeah, because I got my shit together. I changed majors. I got my grades back up because, like, I just had a purpose in life again. You know?
You had something to work for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So they gave me that. And another thing, too, was that just looking at you from the previous year was like, we're very, like, there was a lot of things I saw we had in common. Like, guys having to fight for and earn their spot, because you weren't just walking into the baseball team like a lot of people do with like 6'2", 6'4" guys with a lot of natural ability, a lot of natural strength.
5 foot nothing, 100 nothing.
Not a speck of athletic ability.
Not a speck of athletic
Very
ability.
Rudy-esque.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and
Got
then
a Rudy chant my sophomore year. But yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that from an away team. I forgot what team that was.
It was at all guy school in Virginia, but yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, great. Fantastic.
So I saw that, and then I was like, oh, he broke his foot too. Like, there's another, like, commonality. I'm looking for all these things so I can, like,
we're brothers,
do a little, like,
brothers didn't even know yet.
Yeah. So we start the walk, like, right before the actual fall semester starts. After I had the meeting with the Steagles, I was like, okay, my next stop, I got to find this Matt Steele guy and contact him.
Yeah.
And I found your name, your email in the school directory.
Yeah.
It was recon. I call it recon. You could call it stalking, whatever you would have you.
Definitely stalking.
So I shoot you an email, and on the surface, it was a lot of seemingly looked like a lot of dick sucking. And I'll admit that that's probably what it looked like.
Your knees are sore, and your lips
my
are
Oscar Schwatter is all out of whack
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah.
But
in your defense, though, when I read it, I was like, he's right with all these things. So
yeah, because you
obviously
needed the ego stroke. You didn't have a lot of fans in the stands coming for you only.
Zero. Yeah.
And
zero.
I said this before, probably off camera, is there was not one of those, like, I've sent emails to, like, hey, I'm going to suck this guy off, make him sound cool and look cool so I could get my way.
Jose
it was not
Canseco.
that at all. This
Yeah.
was all genuine. I was like, man, I think you're a hard worker. You're working your ass off out there. Like, I'd really like to be friends with you or something. I'm trying out.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Ah, that's what it was.
All that shit. Might have been top 5 biggest regrets in my life, thinking back.
I would hope top 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's up there because every day I wake up, I wish he wasn't my friend. I don't know why I hit
Truly
send.
blessed.
Why did I hit send?
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we finally, like, you actually responded. Bonji, if you remember the story from, I think, episode 45 when he was on, where he told me we're going to have a catch and then he blew me off,
Yeah,
so to
so
speak.
I know you and Bonji are definitely closer than you and I are, but he scoffed you at first.
Oh, yeah.
Completely scoffed you.
He did.
And I did not.
No, you gave me at least
I gave you a fair shake.
respectable response. It was like if I
I'm
was
not going
a
to suck
famous-
you up, but I'll rub you off.
Yeah, if I was a famous athlete and a fan emailed me, like, to be nice to the fan, I'd be like, hey, thanks for reaching out. Like, one of those things.
Yeah.
It was respectful.
It was one of those. But the next level of that, so then you get put on the team, right? And then we have I'm sure you've talked about the how you got your name with Bud.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, when you showed up and you were in your blues for the physicals.
Physical running up and down the hallway.
You were called Sergeant Pepper, and then next thing you know, you're Sarge. And then we had the fall where Coach Ritter spoke and all the student athletes. What was that?
Dinner.
It was a fall dinner.
Yeah.
With all student athletes, right? And
I'm coming right from ROTC class.
you come right from our ROTC. I'm the only asshole you know. You look at me and you beeline over next to me.
Right.
And of course, you sit next to me in your uniform.
Everyone's wearing like a button-down shirt
Everyone's
or even a
dressed
polo.
to impress.
There was
Yeah.
a couple of guys on the team that dressed like assholes.
Standard. But yeah.
But they were still in civilian clothes.
100%. You were the only
Not-
person in military
Not me.
attire. And you're the only person I know. And you come to sit by me. And I remember I even remember thinking at the time, hey, this guy stands out completely. And I'm like, I don't really give a shit. I'm like, I just don't care. Like, he seems like a nice guy. And it's not a big deal. Like, I remember actually thinking I didn't give a shit and I should. because that is the shallow way of like thinking. Right. It was like I should be embarrassed about this. And I'm not. And you came over and we said like 3 or 4 words, but like it brought a little comfort to you, and I didn't give a shit. And dude, that was the start.
That was it.
You were in.
I'm surprised you weren't thinking like, why did I reply to that email?
I just remember thinking like, dude, I appreciate someone with some balls because I was there, and I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but dude, you were one of the best things that happened to that team for the entire time we were there. So,
I mean, that was one of those like, kind of going back to what you said, like the blessing in disguise. It changed my life. So I was gonna give back to the Steagles and that team as much as I possibly could, and it wasn't gonna be with baseball skill set. It was gonna be with something else.
But it doesn't matter. Like you look back at the history of the program since you and I left, and you talk about people who had the biggest impact on the program. You're up there. It doesn't matter. Like Ponce is throwing for St. Louis, and we got some other guys that have made the bigs. But like, dude, the impact you made on the program actually transcends a lot of what those individual accolades have made, because it was beyond you. You were one of the first people who actually showed it meant more for the success of the program than any individual. And dude, I remember you inspired me very early on, and it was truly remarkable what you did. And I think if you ask the Steagles the same thing, they'll never admit it because they are who they are.
No, I even appreciate you saying this stuff.
Because even they said, they're like, oh, as soon as you graduate, you're dead to us. What have you done for me lately?
It was,
and we know they don't mean that.
They always said, like, the game will go on, you will be gone.
They say that, but they don't mean it, but they do say that all the time.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's just made a bigger, I don't know many people have made a bigger impact than you have.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, and I mean that. I genuinely mean that. Except for Bud throwing BP for everybody. As a pitcher, I think his BP was fantastic. Unfortunately, it was during games a lot of times, but
for the other team.
Yeah, for the other team, obviously.
I'm not. I can't.
He throws one no, and he thinks he's better than everybody.
He threw the no, but then when I was on the team my first year, he threw the game where he got 27 up and 27 down. It was not a perfect game or a no-hitter, but he either picked the guy off or the guy was caught stealing a base.
100%.
That was a pretty impressive feat as well.
It was like equivalent to me playing who was at school I hit like 1,000 against. It was
not Northwood. It was
it wasn't Northwood.
No, it was they're the green team. They were green and white.
I hit like 750 career against them.
Yeah,
like could not get out.
Damn,
that was how Bud just
team,
carved
man.
up our conference.
I wish I had my phone. I would look at it.
I give Bud a lot of shit. I think he's one of the best pitchers I've ever seen. Like his understanding and knowledge of the game, his ability to understand how to get people out. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. No, his mental toughness was second to none. But he grew up as a goo, product of the goos. But actually, his ability to understand hitters and get them out, it transcended like college baseball. I thought he was fantastic. It's unfortunate he didn't continue. So
I thought you were going to say that he's such a piece of shit.
Well, no, he's a pussy. That's why he. So we all know Bud and I want to face each other every year at alumni game, and then I started getting the swing back, and then he goes, "Oh, I blew out my arm." And he pussed out.
That's what
you can see the string. So he won't throw anymore because he knows I've got him. So
well, I mean, if we have an alumni game this year, we have to make it happen, right?
Well, he can't throw. Ask him. He won't throw.
I think
he won't throw.
Look,
trust me, he won't throw.
He
knows better because if I take him Yahtzee, which I will do, I'm gonna fucking
like a real home run.
No, I'm gonna go full send. Like Dick. I'm gonna dip, drive, and just send it. You know what I mean? Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't see that happening. I see a fake bunt,
100%.
First pitch, fake bunt.
Yeah,
trying to bring the third baseman in,
suck him in, and then poke it back,
and then just poke it out there.
Yeah,
that's what I see happening.
Not when Bud pitches.
So here's the thing, though.
Full send.
What is a win to you against that? Like again, because you can get that
sure
little chip shot to third base or whatever.
The thing I love best, my biggest win over Bud is the duck fart to right, because he knows he beat me, but I was just a little bit better, and I duck farted in. Hey, you jam me, but I'm still better than you.
Like, your skill didn't beat you, like, didn't beat him, but he still
and
lost.
He would get so mad every time I did it. I just duck farted right over second base. Just, yeah. Yeah, he knows.
That reminds me of the Corey Davis hit against Eddie Waters. So we talk about
one of the best moments I've seen on a baseball field.
Oh, yeah, and I saw it live.
There were tears. I was there. I was sitting over on the side of the left field line.
Yeah, we were there, and we talk about it. I give Davis shit constantly.
Soft liner up the middle.
It was
everyone and their mother dove for it.
It was a duck. They were infield in. It goes over their head, so it was technically his first hit.
Yeah, 100%.
In his career in college.
Bonji, I think, was a first base coach.
First base coach.
Yeah.
And I always remember this because Bonji told me, and you can kind of hear it too if you listen carefully. He gets to David Cobblepot, Gotham's first son, and public enemy number 1 of the LPDS. Gets to first base. He rounds the corner after the duck fart single. When he gets he goes back to the bag.
Because there was like 2 RBIs, right? I think 2 runs scored.
Well, at least 1, yeah. And he starts tearing up and
crying.
Bonji,
like they were tears.
Yeah, legit.
Not tearing up. He was tears.
Right.
Yeah.
And Bonji goes, "Why the fuck are you crying, dude?"
Which, of course, we all love Bonji, but we know if Bonji's saying that, it ain't great.
Right, because he
wears his emotions on his sleeves.
Yeah, what do they call that? An empath or whatever? I forgot what they call
There's another word for it. But
there's some sort of emotional. Yeah, he's a.
It starts with a P, I think.
Something like that. But so he's in tune with emotions. We'll call it that.
Yeah,
because I don't want him to beat me.
He's
up.
in tune with his emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he said that was. So
amazing, and I think he hugged Bonj. It was
he tried to,
yeah,
probably,
and Bonj was like trying to give him like a high five. It was incredible.
Yeah, and that's what I see. Like you're like, oh, that's a victory for you against Bud.
Sure,
and that's a rivalry that people don't understand. And when we make it famous, people kind of better understand it. When we're big here,
sure,
LPDS is big.
It won't be long.
Yeah, people will see like, oh, this is the Bud Steele rivalry going on here. There's always all these little rivalries between.
And that comes back to like we talked about this earlier. I had to make specific cuts in my life, like for my wedding, and like sometimes people don't make the cut. The cut line, so sometimes you're below the cut line. Same reason that you see that hat right there, that only certain people are awarded that hat.
Yeah, apparently,
and other people are not. So it is what it is, and full disclosure, I am forever willing to receive any shit I get for Bud not coming to my wedding. But I love you. That was a complete mistake, and I deserve.
The wedding?
No, I love Hill. Bud not coming to the wedding. I am forever in debt and disappointed he didn't come. But I deserve all the crap he gives me. And every single time he mentions it, I truly, it makes my heart happy that he has not let it go. Because it bothers me. It bothers me just as much as that I think it bothers him that he wasn't there. Because him and I were through the goose together. Him and I experienced some emotional things during that 1 year we got to spend together in the goose. That you have to go through it to understand it.
Right.
Me, Bud, Matty T.
Bonji.
Colin. Well, Colin was in the stands watching.
He was in his own. We talk about him being in his own league.
So I am obviously always in debt to Bud, and I will only admit that one time, Bud. So that's all I got for him.
So you better make sure you save this episode.
That is it.
That's it.
But I truly do mean that.
Yeah, but that's something that for all of us in that group, and we could talk about this too, like on the military side, is when you go through shit together, we'll shit talk. Like I'll never stop shit talking you.
Ever. And
I'll never stop hating you and wanting to be better than you in every single way. And
you
I
are.
Assume, and I expect that to be from you as well.
100%.
But when you go through any sort of shit together, some trials and tribulations of any kind, like when you experience that, like you get that, you form that bond that is like unbreakable.
Dude, it's unbreakable bond. That I don't think you can explain to anybody.
No,
My wife is amazing. I love her, and she gets it because she was a almost an Olympic athlete and whatever. But
she has it with her.
There is a bro level though that the broette level doesn't quite get.
Yeah, I don't know if, and nothing against Hill at all because she had her they had their own group dynamic that they went through shit together as well.
And she gets it. She's like, all right, when you guys are together, I just gotta let y'all do your thing.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't. It's like you said, there's nothing that you can say to explain it correctly or properly or appropriately. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like we get together and it's absolute mayhem. We can be, and I kind of hate I keep talking about it all the time, and I bring it up on every episode. I have a guest from the good old days, but we can be away from each other for years and maybe talk to each other twice in 5 years. We meet up and we're instantly right back into it.
Yeah,
right back in. And there's no hey, how's it going? I miss you. It's like, hey, right, nice mustache, homo.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
You're into that now. Well, and I was telling you earlier, Remy came by.
Wet Cat, everyone knows the Wet Cat.
The Wet Cat. It was before I deployed, so it was back in the fall, and hadn't seen him in a while.
2020, right? Yeah.
Yeah, hadn't seen him in a while. Brought his girlfriend, who's fantastic. He's way outkicked his coverage. She's way too good for him. Yeah, 100%.
She's the best.
But I hadn't seen the Wet Cat in a dude. He was I had just seen him, and him and I butted heads in college a couple times. When I made him, I was like, "Get your ass on the bucket." He's like, "Fuck you!"
I butted heads with Phil too. We talked about it.
But
on
I
our
love
episode.
and respect that dude as much as anybody. And dude, it was so cool. He came over. I hadn't seen him in years, and that's how it was.
It's just back in. It's like you never
right back into it, man.
Yeah, there's no catching up needed. It's just right back into the.
And I think you're right. Some of the things we all went through together, Quinn. I mean, him and I had a connection, when he was pitching and I was playing middle infield, that, is inseparable. Did we get along all the time? No, we had plenty of disagreements off the field.
You kind of can't. That's a natural human thing. You're never getting along with everybody all the time. If you are, you're faking it.
100%. But if you ask me, hey, who is, name the top 3 pitchers you'd ever play for, and it would be Bud would be one, Quinn would be the other, and the third would be tough. It'd be Otto or Brian Recco. I
never played with them. I don't know.
And they were the year before you, but dude, it's some of the best people you've ever played with, and Quinn and I did not get along all the time.
No.
But there's no one else I'd rather be behind, like I said, other than Bud.
Yeah. He actually played Austin Quinn, Embry-Riddle grad. He played independent minor league ball for the Pensacola Pelicans for a year when I was stationed in Pensacola my first couple years in the military.
Yeah.
And his now wife would come up to watch some home games when she could, and we would hang out, and he was always hooking me up with tickets and stuff. Yeah. And it was, again, we stopped, I was there for a year before he got there, pretty much. Something like that. There was some time where we didn't talk at all.
Yeah.
And as soon as he finds out he's going to the team, I just was like, hey, I live here, and he goes, you're getting tickets, instantly. And we got to hang out. It was another way for us to stay in touch, stay close.
One thing I would say that's unfortunate about Quinny is that dude should be coaching college somewhere right now.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's doing right now. I'm sure he's doing fine in his life.
He's doing great. I saw him less than a year ago in Daytona. His kids were doing swim lessons. They were so cute. And I love what him and Sarah are building. However, that dude should be coaching college baseball.
He needs to be involved.
Dude, he is a brain that's the next level. I think him and Bud, when you think about guys that actually get it and can coach at the next level, those are two guys that, honestly, I think are some of the best out there.
Well, I wish Bud was here now, and maybe when the next time I get him
I wouldn't say if he was here.
But I'm saying I've seen Bud coach, at least Little League.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Dude, but he gets it. He understands the game, though. Him and Quinn have some of the highest baseball IQ I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're both pitchers, which they never have IQ.
No, it's usually throw hard and sit back down. But Bud
Throw
is
hard,
good
eat ass,
because
right?
he's teaching kids, he's coaching kids, so he's got the baseball prowess shit down, but he's coaching these kids like they're college-age players.
That's perfect.
Ripping them to shreds.
Love it.
Making sure that they're like getting in their ass, they're not hustling, if they're being lazy.
That's awesome.
Making sure the parents have no say, or like butting in, or you know how parents are these days, just getting involved. Everyone's kid is Babe Ruth, so he's making sure that doesn't happen. He's got his old man Big Mike also
Love Big
causing
Mike.
trouble.
Love Big Mike.
It's a sight. And one time actually, Bonji came to visit us in Maryland one time. And we got to go check out a game of Bud coaching like a little league middle school, and it was stupendous. It was a sight to see. And you're absolutely right. They need to be in the game. They need to be involved in that world again, because it's not just about coaching baseball. It's not like you're a good baseball player, you should go coach. It's about stuff I talk about all the time, about like leading people, teaching them life lessons through a sport. Which is an unbelievable thing to be able to do.
Oh, yeah.
Teach that camaraderie, work ethic, competitiveness, understanding, like dealing with loss and failure, all that stuff. And they need to be like, I think Bud would be like the perfect guy. Quinn would be another perfect guy.
Well, I talked about this. So I just got back from a deployment.
You're
Sorry,
losing
I'm like sucking on it. Got back from a deployment, and one of the things is we did a synopsis of all the things we did during that deployment, and we were trying to change the way we think about the way we operate and all these things. But one of the big things was exactly what you're saying. Like, dude, here are people who actually get it, and at a different level. But dude, they bring out the best in the individual, right? And you look at Quinn and Bud. And I think Bonji has a lot of that opportunity. Those are the guys you need in that environment because, dude, they can mentor and make people better. But it's hard because I don't think they see it because they're just the most humble people you ever meet.
There's not a lot of
so
ego
they don't see it. No, there's zero ego with those people. But like, dude, I would sit in and listen to any one of them.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it was actually fun playing with Bud in summer ball, like not summer ball, but like men's league. We played that one year in Maryland together. Because
crab cakes in summer league.
What's that?
Crab cakes in summer league.
Oh yeah,
that's what Maryland does.
Yeah. So our coach, I don't even remember his name honestly. Nice guy, not a baseball mind. He was a nice guy, and that's it. You know. So it was me and Bud were the most skilled players on the team, and I was just taking my coaching, leadership, instruction, and stuff from him. And he was an asshole sometimes, and we talked about that mainly because I sucked and I needed an asshole to get on, to get on me. But it was like he was in his natural habitat, and it was great to be back. Like not only was he playing, but he was still like leading as well, and that was awesome. So I liked seeing that. I like seeing that everywhere. Like, I want to see people that have that ability, that natural ability to lead and grow people and be a part of that. I want to see them everywhere. Like, I talk about this, at least off camera, like, how the military needs more of that.
Yeah, 100%.
And that you get the one or two, like, leaders that you work with in the military in your career that change like your whole perspective. Like you'll deal with more mediocre, average mediocre to subpar leaders throughout your military career than you will good leaders, I feel like. At least for me. Maybe
100%.
I'm jaded. I had a couple of bad experiences so far in my career, but those one or two that you get that are actually good and can provide you that good mentorship and those life-changing experiences for you.
Yeah.
That's something that, like, when you experience that, you just want that for everybody because it kept me in the military. It's the reason I'm still here because as every time I'm about to, like, I'm out of the military, I'm done, I'm going to go to the civilian sector and do whatever and, all that bullshit. You get one good leader in there that's just like, okay, I'll stay in for him. Like for guys, like if I can see him, if I can meet another person like that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that though, because you and I talked about this a little while ago. So we know some of the sports were canceled this year at Embry-Riddle. I know you've talked about this.
Yeah, we had a whole nice little episode.
Whole
I had
episode
an email conversation with the president.
But like you and I talked about this. So like, I have done a lot of great things in my career. I would say I've done some things in my military career I never ever expected to do. And some of those I did in Sauce Deployment, right? Mm-hmm. Like, some of the things we did were like, I mean, it was unreal. But
big time things that like you step back and you're like, I can't believe
we did that.
Like did
right?
that, yeah.
But I look at where did I actually learn the skill sets that made me successful in order to do that, and it wasn't in the military.
No,
that's not a notch in the military. I'm not taking a hack at them, but it is absolutely 100% due to the things I learned as a student athlete at Embry-Riddle. We talk about the total package, and we all make fun of it. Yeah. Chuzman Guzman. The ultimate total package, right? Student, person, player. He was the ideal person.
The penultimate.
The ultimate.
SPP, if you will.
So good, he could park his car on the baseball
wherever
field.
he wanted.
And it was fine. Or his truck. Or whatever dumb vehicle that was.
Yeah. That burnt orange vehicle.
It was burnt orange. It was like the avalanche. It was
the
avalanche.
Yeah.
We all know that's how bad it was. But you look at the skill sets that I learned to do some of the things that I've done in just the last few months, I never learned in the military. I learned them under the tutelage of some fantastic coaches, including the head basketball coach and AD, who was not involved in the baseball program at all at the time, right. Coach Ritter. Obviously the Steeles, the Goos, like, and then obviously the people that we were around, JP, the trainers, Justin, like, it was phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Well, but then you look at the players, right, and the things we all went through together, and so that built a foundation for how to overcome adversity in tough times, and like all of these things that build character and things that you can't put a number on. You can't quantify it.
No.
It's an it factor. We talk about it in sports all the time. They've either got it or they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to define it is. Yeah. What is it?
That's
who knows?
Nobody knows. That's the saying. I don't know what it is, but he's got it.
He's got it, right? Yeah. And so not everyone at the ERAU had it, but I think a lot of people developed it over the course of their time at Riddle.
Yeah.
Right? And
by seeing it.
100%. And they took that skill set into whatever they did, right? And so what's frustrating to me is I see where the athletic program is this year, and we lost some sports that at surface level, okay, we canceled sports, no big deal. Yeah, at surface level is what it looks like.
It's not just canceling the sport.
You're talking about a couple hundred kids that are going to go out, and the things they learned are going to make them leaders in the real world.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you, but the rest of the students at the school don't have those leadership opportunities, and they don't understand what it's like to be part of a team.
No.
And sure, they're in. I'm not taking anything away from them.
No,
but there is something different about college athletics.
It's just a different world. That's it. It's not better or worse. It's
not better or worse. It's different.
It's
different because like Scotty never was a student athlete. He hung out with us a lot, right? And he is one of the most successful. I respect him more than I respect anybody.
He's one of the most successful human beings I actually can say I know and be friends with.
100%. But I would also say there's something to be said about the rest of us that went through the college athletic experience.
Yeah.
So it's very disappointing to see that they canceled a bunch of the programs.
Well, they took that year away from that, like the opportunity for people to experience that and learn that stuff.
Learn those skill sets.
You don't learn it from PowerPoint presentations or people telling you about leadership and working hard and dealing with failure. You don't learn about it from somebody telling you that.
No, and look around. There's so many successful people, and the ones that aren't. You look at them and you're like, well, you were a terrible student athlete because you weren't a great teammate. It's not because you gave up a home run in the bottom of the ninth to Fresno Pacific and my career. Stuff like that. No, it was more of a dude, you just weren't a great teammate.
Yeah.
That's what people care about. Because, like, Aaron Varnum gave that home run. I'll never forgive him. But, like, is he a terrible person? No. But other people who were just not great teammates, those are the ones that we remember, right? So
Right.
it's just frustrating. I hate to see what happened to the student athletes this year. I wrote a letter. I haven't sent it yet.
I got the address for the president.
Yeah, I forgot it too.
So
I need to send it. Coach Steele, I know. Cheesesteak wants it. My copy of it. I'm going to send it, but I saw the cross-country team practice. I had to edit it because I thought all sports are canceled.
No,
So.
two sports are good in the spring.
I know. So I had to change it. So I'm still editing it.
Yeah.
But,
it's just it's frustrating to see because we got to experience that. We got to live that life of the student athlete. And again, I have friends that I love to death, but they always dog on me where they're like, oh, you make it sound like baseball was so hard and that you're tougher because you went through baseball and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, I do think that. But
100%.
In all reality, it's not just about that, like, I played baseball in college, so I'm better than you. Like, that's not my attitude at all. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that we just learned so much and got so much out of the experience overall as humans.
Yeah.
And man, it wasn't just about playing a sport that, like, being jocks and throwing a ball and hitting a ball. It was so much more than that.
Yeah.
Again, if it wasn't for baseball and the Steagles, like, I'd be a college dropout. I don't know what I'd be doing in my life. I'd be at home. My parents would be beating my ass every day.
And that's my fear is they don't understand, like, think about the student athletes that, for whatever reason, like, I was a smart kid, but if it wasn't for baseball, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, there's
right.
Yeah, there's no like the purpose wasn't there.
No, and so it's just frustrating to see, and the bonds and the relationships you form. Like there's a lot of great connections and groups of people.
Yeah,
it's a fraternity. Like you take any student athlete, like if you message any athlete from everywhere over the last decade, you're like, hey, I was a baseball player, circuit day, whatever I need help in this, dude. Everybody's gonna take care of each other.
Yeah,
because we've all been through the suck together.
Yeah, they all been through it as some form or fashion together, and that's a big thing that. And there's really nothing that you can say. Like, I wish there was something that the Steele, like the coaches now, can say to the current player, like the student athletes, like don't give up on this just because this year is taken. Obviously, the people making the decision on that do not understand the second, third order effects of their decision in that regard. I'm still waiting to hear for an actual valid reason for their decision. Whatever. I'm gonna keep pushing that, fighting that fight on the back end. Yeah. But I hope the people like the student athletes understand, like, don't give up the ship just because of this one shitty year experience. Yeah. Because there's don't miss out on the opportunity just because someone else said you couldn't have it this
there's
year.
Too much.
Yeah. So again, it's tough. It's very tough to just tell people how to be good at leadership or have a good work ethic and all that stuff. And I know they're missing out on that, but I hope they're listening to the Steagles because I know they're probably pushing out a good message of, like, staying strong and
I know they are,
and all that stuff.
100%.
So I hope that's the case. But if it wasn't for that,
time out.
Yeah, we'll take a quick commercial break, and then I'll check the tech and make sure that I'm not screwing anything up again like I have been in the past. And we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So talked about missed opportunities, all the good stuff about baseball, or at least playing the sport, being the student athlete. I kind of want to talk a little bit, without getting too crazy, about some of the fun times we had outside of the physical aspect of playing baseball and practice and all that stuff. Now, one thing that sticks out that I haven't talked about in a long time, I don't even know if a lot of people know these stories anymore, is what we called Friday Night Lights. So I'm just gonna
Legendary.
kick it off to you to kind of talk about the origin behind that and what it was and what it became. I mean, that was like the first, that was like the first content I kind of ever did. For me personally.
Well, you were the yeah. So Friday Night Lights evolved from one night we were coming back from a establishment. There's a group of us in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
And there was some construction work being done. And we looked outside and we're like, hey, that needs to be...
You're losing it already.
So we're driving back after a night of being overserved. And we're at a stoplight.
Being overserved.
Overserved. We look over to the right and we see, hey, there's a construction barrel. Doesn't seem to be a need for it here. There is a need for that construction barrel somewhere in 17203.
That was the apartment complex you eventually moved to that became the epicenter of everything, essentially, for the last for most of everyone's time there.
Yeah, the last at least 2 years that we were there.
What was the name of that complex?
Legacy.
That's right, the Legacy. Yeah.
Legacy. A lot of stories at Legacy.
Oh, buddy.
So we see
this is one of those orange construction big, not a
barrels.
Car, but
it has the rubber
barrel.
Base, right? And it's about, I don't know, whatever, between 6 and 9 feet wide.
Yeah.
And it has a yellow flashing light,
at the
and
top.
It goes about every 2 or 3 seconds. So.
And it's battery operated. There's not really an off switch on it.
There is no off switch on it. So we grab this fucking barrel. We hike it into the back of the truck we're in. Toolsby's driving, shocker. And we head back. So we get back to 17203. Daniel B. Had to work the next day. So he didn't go out with us. So we set the barrel. We grab it and we set it in his room. And it is blinking in his face. Just blinking. So he wakes up.
I don't know how he didn't get a seizure from it.
Yeah, we thought he did. So he wakes up at about 6 a.m. and this thing is going off in his face. He has a meltdown. He yells at us.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that barrel just stuck around for the next, I don't know, 6 months.
If I have a picture of it, I'll pop it up here. We might have a picture. At least I'll have a picture of the group of us of Friday Night Lights.
100%.
I think I have that I could post up here. If we have the barrel, cool.
I have that picture. So, one night, again, I'm overserved, and I think it was a Friday night. It was the first Friday night, and
it was in the fall because we weren't playing games.
It was football season. Yep, and the barrel is just sitting there, minding its own business, and I'm like, you know what? I need to tackle that barrel. I'm gonna show that barrel who the fucking bitch is.
It's bigger than you. You got to make sure you know.
I start dominant.
That's right.
So I line up in a 3-point stance, and I'm ready.
That was it. I was going to say football stance.
Football stance.
3-point,
3-point. Matty T calls out the height cadence, and he's doing the height, and I'm not budging. I am staying true to the cadence.
Hard count.
Yeah, he's hard counting, and then he goes, hut. It was on 3. So I go, and I tackle the shit out of this thing. And when I hit it...
I think you got airborne.
Airborne. I got completely vertical, and I hit this thing. I lay it over. I bounce off of it. It rolls on top of me. It was just a complete train wreck. And they have this video of it.
242. Down. Set. Hut. Hut. Hut.
Oh, you shoved this stick right to that black rock.
And I don't remember where they posted it, but all of our dumb friends were like, that was fucking awesome. We're like,
we gotta do this as a team.
We gotta do this every Friday. So we did it next Friday. And it got more sophisticated. And it gradually grew until we had 2 teams on each side. We had a coach.
Of the barrel.
And we had a coach who just wore a blazer. That was you.
That was me. I was whatever I was wearing for the night. And there was a couple times I remember because I don't care about how I look. I already am ugly. I'm a cartoon. So I'm not going to dress like I pretend to be a good-looking fella.
Sure.
Sometimes I'd be wearing the blue every little track pants that we had.
Yeah.
Some shirt, and then the blazer, maybe a tie.
something classy on top to show
on
that
top
you're the
of the
coach.
trash.
Yeah.
That I was the coach of the game.
And I remember who was the dude? It wasn't Colin Gray. Who was the other one that hit all the home runs?
Albright?
Kyle Albright.
Another player.
Kyle Albright.
I wish he listened because that would crush his ego knowing that he is that forgettable.
He's that forgettable.
Love Kyle Albright.
So a couple weeks later, we started videotaping these things and post them, and there's a lot of feedback on Facebook. We have a lot of fans, and
we're getting more fans for that than this damn show.
yeah, probably, 100%. And so you're our coach, and he was a referee.
Yeah.
And so the first time we had a defense against an offense, it was really me tackling the barrel again, and then Matty T out of nowhere comes in and hits me, and I spin off and I score.
And
everybody goes fucking nuts, right? It was like we won the Super Bowl.
Jumping up and down like we won the Super Bowl.
Everybody's jumping up and down.
We're in an apartment.
In an apartment complex, just banging on the floor, and Kyle Albright pretends to be ref, opens the fridge of the kegerator, like he's reviewing the replay, calls a touchdown. Everybody goes nuts, and that's how Friday Night Lights was born.
It evolved into for the entire fall that year. It was my first year playing, I think.
Yeah.
Every Friday before, it was like we were pre-gaming at 17-203.
Yep.
We did Friday Night Lights, and then we would hit the bars, or
Obviously.
the special
Red
interest
Tails, Arena, all the shit.
Razzle Dazzles, all of it. Shark Lounge, maybe. Lollipops, all the hot
The
spots.
Pops was always in.
Oh, yeah. But it became this, we had this cult following of all other, mainly student athletes.
Yeah.
And there was a good enough of them that we would be around campus and people would be coming up to us and can't wait for Friday Night Lights this week. I'm so excited.
Shocked.
These are other athletes that, I knew of, but I didn't know them. And they're like, hey, Sarge, can't wait for Friday Night Lights. I was like, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, friend.
This is my biggest contribution to this program.
It's so true. And it was just a dumb thing we did when we were drunk, and it was a lot of fun.
I don't know if we have any more of those videos. We have to look.
They have to. They're on Facebook. They have to be on
somewhere.
Facebook. Yeah.
But it was just a bunch of drunks lining up like an actual football lineup,
100%.
blocking and tackling.
Tackling fools.
Everything was what was the goal line drill or whatever.
100%.
Incredible stuff.
Because you're always on the goal line. It's always, dude, you're always on parade. Right?
That's what it was. Always on. Always on.
Always
the
on.
cameras are always on.
Cameras are always on. You got to be ready. And it was just this dumb thing we did.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was probably, again, as an adult, well, technically an adult, age-wise, that was the first piece of content that was ever created.
Yeah.
So
it was. That, and then OnlyFans came on shortly after.
Yeah, and then I show off my Oscar Schwatter now on OnlyFans. Make a killing. That's how I pay off my student loans.
Oof.
Thanks a lot, Embry Riddle.
It's tough.
So we had a lot of good times at 17-203. That was, again, that became the epicenter for a lot of things. Bud talked about the time the one girl pissed in his room when he was living there.
That was
we'll block out
Chris
the names to protect the innocent, but yeah, he had a girl piss in his room when he lived there.
So, and then another soccer player, because they're all soccer players, took our tap for our kegerator, pulled it down but turned it sideways and pulled, and then it just dumped the entire keg on the floor of beer.
Carpet.
Yep,
floor.
the carpet was just destroyed.
I think your dog Reese started drinking that up.
Reese was hammered drunk off the floor.
Yeah. Plus all the daiquiris people were feeding this poor dog. It was a wiener dog.
Yeah.
Reese.
Heart of gold.
Rest in peace. But
Rip.
Do you remember the time when Corey Beavis, another player, he was living in the apartment with you guys. He does his phantom move. That was his signature move. We would be all pregame and hanging out, and Corey would disappear. Phantom gone for whatever reason. I'm sure it was important. Whatever.
It had to be.
He was gone, and at this point, it was late into the fall, and we're like, I'm so tired of Beavis just phantoming on us. Why is he ghosting, just disappearing?
Yeah,
we're gonna get him back. So do you remember what we did?
Great. Oh yeah. We took the entire contents of 17203 and stuffed it in his room.
So, sorry, I'm spitting my cheese here. We're talking all the furniture, anything that can move.
The barrel.
Chairs, the barrel,
Yeah.
the couches,
Like dirty laundry,
coffee tables,
like
laundry.
everything.
And then you also had this raft
yeah.
out on the balcony that
I
you
forgot
used,
about that.
You used on the lake, like the little pond for some other shenanigans.
Yeah.
Brought that raft inside into the room. Now, in that raft, do you remember the little lizard that was stuck in the raft that ended up in the room? So I don't know if we have the picture still. If we do, I'll find it and pop it up here. If not, you're not going to get the picture. But we got a picture of the whole apartment in his room.
Yep.
And then everybody kind of hiding in the
100%.
in the
Everybody
rubble.
took a picture in that. Let's. I'm gonna write that down to get.
Yeah, to find that picture
Beavis
somewhere.
pic. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm spitting again. As soon as we took the picture,
Epic.
it was great. We were going to leave it. The plan was leave it when Beavis comes back from phantoming. He was going to come into that situation, but the wrench was thrown in when he happened to, and this is probably the best thing he's done, was he happened to text you or whoever else was living in the
He
apartment,
texted me.
and he said, "Hey, I just picked up a girl from the
Michelle,
airport.
I'll never forget.
I'm heading back to the apartment. We're gonna go in my room, and please don't bother us, whatever."
Yeah.
We start scrambling.
I mean, tearing this place apart.
We're like, shit. Like, for the girl's sake, she was probably a nice person. I never actually met her.
I know her pretty well. Yeah.
We got to clean this mess up. So we had to take the picture for posterity, and then we had to clean it up, and we just showed them the picture. What was left in the room, though, was the lizard that we never found. We saw him come out of the raft.
He got out, and that was it.
And that was it. I don't know what happened to that lizard. I don't know if he was tickling Beavis one night or something, but he lived there. He's there now.
He lived there for like the next year. Because he would show up randomly. We'd see him run across. We're like, hey, that's our lizard.
Yeah.
But he was thicker and fatter every time.
Yeah, because he was eating the leftover pizzas.
Leftover pizza, fudge, or whatever.
Yeah, daiquiris, whatever Reese was leaving left over for him. And he became part of the club, I guess.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of good times at that apartment.
Man.
And then we would go out and
Just
have our, shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then eventually, this is more so, I think you were gone, or maybe the tail end of your tenure at the U. Things moved over to what we call the condo.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was more so the time when I first graduated and I was coming back on a regular basis from Pensacola because I needed to come back and get. I wasn't ready to get to be done
some
with
things
baseball.
to take care of. Yeah.
Yeah, and we would come back to the condo, and this is where Matty T's condo that he owned on the beach.
Yep.
And the shenanigans that ensued there almost won up 17-203.
I would say they probably did.
I mean, you guys, there was a lot happening.
Because all of us had graduated now, so we had more money and less give a shits.
We were getting paid, like, especially you and me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're graduating right into full salary careers.
Yeah.
Coming back, it was before my loan started coming due, because there's that 7-month window, and I'm just spending
living life.
money. And we talked about some of the escapades at the special interest establishments and the how you doings. But the condo was that was the focal point. That was home base for us. We would start there.
HQ. Headquarters.
It was HQ. We would start there, get crazy, go out, maybe hit the Flagler Tavern.
Oh, man, dude. Flagler Tavern.
And then come back. But at Flagler Tavern, at one point in the night, anytime we were there, someone would request. You remember the song that someone would request for the dance floor? It was Shots.
Oh, my God. Shots.
And every time that song came on,
Tommy would go nuts.
Tommy Cawley, an ex-player, the guy we talked about sailing the ball over the dugout,
Would go crazy.
he would go crazy. Everyone would go crazy, dancing on each other, jumping up and down like we were at a bar mitzvah.
Shots.
Just going nuts. And every time that song came on, no matter what you were doing, who you were talking to. If you were in the bathroom, throwing
Yep.
up, pulling the trigger,
Didn't
what have
matter.
you. You heard that song, you ran to the dance floor, you dropped what you
Had
were
to.
doing, and then after you just went back to your normal existence in the club, in the bar, whatever it was.
But there was about 3 minutes there. Heaven.
A good, 3 to 4 minutes of doing that.
Yeah.
And then after that usually would be when Bonji would do what we call the patented jumping hump, the J&H,
Oh my God.
where he would find a lucky lady and hoist her up with his mask on the dance floor, and
Yep.
and the dance move,
Yep.
if you will, was jumping,
Just jumping and
jumping
pumping.
up and
Jumping and pumping.
up and down on the dance floor. Everyone's circling around watching. She's loving it,
But
he's
not
loving
like
it.
soft, like aggressive.
No, it was aggressive. Like
Very
if it was
aggressive.
real, it would probably hurt.
Yeah, like take some ibuprofen before.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And that was another part of like the evening was watching the show, I guess, if you will.
God, it was so bad.
And then we would maybe find our way over to, what was that one place called? The Barn?
Barn was in Sanford, yeah.
I don't remember how far away that was.
About
from-
45 minutes. We went there quite a bit.
Yeah, we used to go there a lot.
Yeah.
And that was another place where a lot of shit went down.
A lot of shit. Yeah.
A lot of
lot of shit went
shenanigans.
down.
A lot of people ended up back at the condo from that place. Do you
Yeah.
remember?
A lot of shit went down.
Do you remember Big Red? I mean, she's unforgettable, and we won't get into the nitty gritty.
We'll have to wait till Danny's on.
Yeah, we'll
headset
get
for
Daniel
that.
B
Yeah.
on to talk about that. But I do
We'll let
remember
Danny talk about that.
specifically Big Red ended up back at the condo,
Yep.
and there was one point where I go to the bathroom, I come out, and Big Red is now in the middle of the condo, like living room,
Yeah.
twirling around
Nunchucks. Yep.
I think Danny or Maddie had nunchucks in their room, and she's like, I know how to use these. Like, I
Yeah.
was trained to use these. And
Why
we're
wouldn't
like,
she?
have at it, Hoss. Go for it. And she's in there going crazy with the
Sending
nunchucks.
it, yeah.
Like, crushing it. And, I mean, I was hooked.
Heart of gold. 100% heart of gold.
The rest of the story will be told at a later date. But,
Yeah, we'll Rolex that one. But, oh, man. Yeah. Nice girl.
yeah, she was heart of gold.
Hey, yeah, Danny met her at, yeah,
He's got to be here to tell a story because it was
100%.
the way they, I guess, met or intertwined, if you will,
Yeah.
was wild. It should never have worked ever in a million
Ever,
years.
ever.
You don't do that and expect anyone to even acknowledge you.
But he did it in a way that wasn't creepy, so.
It was not creepy. It was not
Yep.
anything bad at all. It was just like, no one's going to acknowledge you for doing that. He didn't even say a word.
Nothing.
That was the best part.
That was the best part.
And it happened like
Escalated from
a
there.
tractor beam of hotness.
Wait.
Sucked them right in.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sucked me right in.
Yeah, so I mean, there's again, I do this all the time where I say there's endless stories. We can go on and on
Yeah.
and on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to belabor the point because I want to save it for later because there's endless
100%.
content that we could talk
Yeah,
about.
we need to let him talk. Yeah. That's funny.
But what I do want to do, I want to get you back on because we share a commonality and sort of like a connection in the fact that we both entered the military after.
yeah.
And we talk, you and I, one-on-one all the time about our experiences and what we learned through the career and what we learned from our time at the U and how it translated over and how we became who we are because of that and not as much from the military. You could see the differences and stuff. And a big thing I do want to talk about eventually, we don't have to get into it now. We'll have another episode for sure because it's more of like a serious conversation, but I want to talk about like our experiences over in like combat.
Sure.
And how that changed us and what we took from our time at Riddle and how it translated over to that world because it's two different worlds, but it's kind of not sometimes. It translated over.
It definitely translates, and I think the lessons learned that happened at Embry Riddle that transferred to our success in combat shouldn't be overlooked when you're talking about canceling sports.
100%.
Right, so it
100%.
transcends kind of that it's easy at face value to be like, oh yeah, sports don't matter. I would passionately and adamantly disagree with that. Because the success that you and I have both seen is because that foundation that we got, participants, we were the total package. We weren't quite Chuzman Guzman.
No, we weren't at that level.
We're not that level.
Not tier 1.
But, we weren't tier 1, but we understood what the total package meant. So, yeah, that would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
And a separate segment to probably have.
For sure. And kind of going off of that, the decision makers, especially for this particular year that canceled sports this year, the decision makers that do that are the usually ones that don't have the experience in that world.
Yeah.
And that kind of also happens on the military side as well, if you think about it.
Oh, 100% it does.
Where the people making the decisions are not the ones that experience the down and in, I call it, the down and in shit that you deal with and how it actually
They're not
affects.
in the trenches actually seeing what happens.
Right.
And I think that's management at any level, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they do a better job in the military of at least considering that and thinking about how it might affect those instances or the people there. But at the same time, I know my career has changed drastically because of decisions like that.
Yeah.
And what I might have missed out on. I talk about all the time of how my dream was to fly, and I am not a flyer, clearly.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can get into that later on, but I don't want to hold you up any longer because again, we could talk all night.
100%. I think this was a great first episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just kind of introduce everything.
The weasel. Introduce the weasel into the mix.
Yeah. There's plenty there to talk about. I think the big thing here is that we talked about kind of our roots there of how we met, though, but the foundation that was built from Embry-Riddle and the people and the relationships that kind of formed who we are. And I think I learned more in my time there in my short 3 years than I ever could have learned anywhere else. And then I learned more in those 3 years than I ever have since. So
yeah,
the success that I've seen, and I always say this all the time, like if I ever achieve great things by standing on the shoulder of giants, not just literally because I'm not tall.
Because you're a little guy.
Yeah, but because I have great friends, and even the ones that I don't like Bud, and but I just think of you, Bonge, Matty T, Daniel B, Scotty, Austin, Barrett. If you ever hear from, it'd be nice to hear from him again. But
he's alive somewhere.
He's somewhere. He's
in some gym.
Yeah,
working out.
And then mine is Varnum's hanging slider, 0-2 in the 9th against Fresno. But I think that's what matters is that kind of stuff. So thank you for having me on and getting to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah,
it was good, fantastic. Especially since we're kind of both getting back from. You actually got back from doing overseas work.
Yeah,
and we could talk about again. We'll talk about that at another time.
100%.
I'm just getting back from my time in the trenches of warfare on the beach that I talk about.
It's all sacrifice.
Absolutely, it is, and that's something that actually I do want to talk about further on in future episodes. And I discussed it a little bit in a previous solo episode of kind of why I want to get guests like you on in the future, because I want to talk about this, like the sacrifice, not to brag and be like we're tougher because we sacrifice this stuff, but just to give people an idea of like what you go through on a daily basis as a military member, and how it affects your life personally, how it affects your family's lives, the important people in your life, and what you got to deal with. Just right off the bat, like I can't tell you how many weddings that I was asked to be in that I had to miss because of the career, and I'm thankful and grateful for the people who asked me, because we're so close and we have such a good relationship and brotherhood, if you will, that they understood completely. 100%. I feel like it's one of those things where I'll never get over it. Like I always feel bad, and I always feel like, man, I hope they don't think I'm a piece of garbage for it. Yeah, because there's nothing I want to do more than be there for my family and friends.
100%. It comes back to the thing like you talked about earlier, like in that situation. We also sometimes you have to make cuts, and it's certain people don't make that cut.
Yeah,
and you want them to, but at the end of the day, they're just not worthy.
Exactly.
So it is what it is, and I love you, bud. And
Just
dude, but thank you for
crushing Bud Maloney
just
tonight. Sorry,
just
Bone
subtle
Crusher.
jabs that assert dominance. And I will fake bunt and then hit a dribble back to her like I did the last game. But thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being
Dude,
here. And
it's
before we
been
go, real
epic.
quick, as I always like to do, and I'll keep it short because I kind of belabor this all the time, but I always like to talk about the big three. To be a better, happier, less stressful human being and have a more positive impact in other people's lives.
Yeah.
So the first thing, of course, exercise every day if you can. It's such a simple thing to do, even if, again,
We
doing
talking
jumping jacks.
JOs or
What's that?
JOs?
Any sort of exercise,
Okay,
any sort of
yeah,
physical activity,
okay.
JOs, jumping jacks, jumping humps, anything to get that
Jumping
physical
humps.
activity
100%,
in
yeah.
because it helps you physically, mentally, emotionally. You get the endorphin rush going through you, all the chemical, the dopamine rush, all that good stuff. I couldn't push that more in my life. Second thing is don't be a shitty person.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, especially in the technology age, and I say this all the time, don't be the text message tough guy. It's super easy to find a human being that you don't even know anything about besides their publicly facing information you see on social media or the internet or the media, and you just want to hate on them and troll them and be a shitbag. It's so easy because you're so far removed from that. But think about them as a human who used to be a child, who has a family now, and they used to be a good person even if they're not now. So understand that before you decide to be a shitty person to another human being, and stop wasting your time doing it. Like, you could be doing more important things for yourself, for your families, your friends, that is actually positive and good, as opposed to you sitting there being an asshole to somebody behind the keyboard. And then the third thing, the biggest thing, most important thing is to be genuinely grateful and thankful for all the good things you have in your life, whether it's
Amen.
cool technology that I got here, the friendships, the ability to be able to drive over here and see my best friends again.
Yeah.
Be thankful for that stuff. And when you have that mindset ingrained in you of being thankful for the good you have, all the bad that's going to come in your life, you're going to see it as an opportunity to grow and learn, as opposed to a hurdle and wall that's going to stop you from progressing forward. So always be thankful and grateful, genuinely, for real, not just saying it and not meaning it. You'll be a better person for it. So that's the big three.
Amen.
Weasel, thanks again. I love you, buddy. We'll do this again. We'll have
Hell
another
yeah.
episode. We'll talk about more stuff, more
Yeah.
serious stuff, more important stuff that I want to get into.
It's just an intro.
But that's it. So it's the start of that. So thank you guys again for listening. Don't forget to hit the website, johnlombardi.com. Like, share, feedback, post, tell your friends and enemies. You got the upside down pineapple there for the swingers. So thank you guys again. I love you. And stay strong.